It's Thursday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse joins me today. Patrick, I don't know if you've ever been on a Thursday episode. Our week is all discombobulated, but it actually turned out pretty well. You got some downtime. I think you spent a little time in the woods. I don't know if that's exactly where you always want to be, but it sounds like it was a pretty good time off, right?
Oh, it was okay. It's up by Iron River, which is 15 miles from the big lake. And we went up and looked at the big lake. And that South Shore is a little different than the North Shore over on
Yes.
the Wisconsin side. There's some good, funky areas of just driftwood all over the place. And I ran into some Minnesotans who were walking along this craggy beach. Picking up agates, and I had to
Yes.
explain to them that agates are rocks. That's all they are. They're just
Don't tell.
rocks who have a little bit of color in them. Oh, wow. I'm going to walk around and grab some agates. It's a damn rock. Don't try to kid me
Don't
that it's, yeah,
don't
the
tell
wife
that to
was,
my
the,
don't tell that to my wife. She's an egg.
the
She
wife
don't tell that to my wife.
The wife was showing me her agates. I said,
Yeah.
"You drive up here to pick those up?" She was from Maple Grove or
Okay.
someplace. So I said,
Yep.
What's wrong with you people?" Anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was good, but it was, it's not something I could get too used to
Uh,
because it's a long way from, up, middle of nowhere. And
yeah.
thing about Wisconsin is when you're driving north there, and we kind of got off the road and went up one of the back roads. You never know when you're driving by a lake because the woods are so thick up there compared to
Yeah.
they are in Minnesota. Usually we get a little peak, like you drive by Big Sandy or something. You can see Big Sandy. Up there, it says Bill's Resort, so there must be a lake back there, but you can never see them. A lot of little reindeer too, man.
Oh
Holy
yeah.
cow! A lot of the
Oh.
woods are full of them. You got to
Oh.
watch yourself driving those back roads up there, man. They're all over the place. So
Huh.
anyway, it was fun.
We need to film a documentary, mini documentary of you in the woods next time. It's like that'd be
We managed. Now I wasn't out a lot after dusk, but we
yeah.
managed to avoid the deer flies, and then apparently the season's over for them, and there weren't that many mosquitoes. So
No, that's good.
I feared the deer flies though. My theory is, if deer flies weighed 20 pounds, there wouldn't be a human being left on the planet. The deer flies are the meanest little son of a guns there are, and they
They are
cannot
nasty.
be they cannot be deterred. So I was glad not to see any of those because there were plenty of deer. That's for sure. But anyway, that's in the past. Meanwhile, we have the glory of the Twins and the Vikings to talk about here to just see who might be on the field for both teams here pretty soon. So
Exactly. I
anyway,
mean the Twins. I mean, relatively like on the field, a relatively successful homestand. You play Cleveland and Kansas City. You start young, rookie ostensibly pitchers or very inexperienced pitchers in 5 out of the 7 games because Varland pitches twice, Festa, Woods, Richardson, and then you have the Daniel
yes,
Zebulon Matthews debut. And you go 4-3, so you got to feel good about that. But you do, Patrick, like we talked about before we started recording, you got to worry about the sustainability when Joe Ryan's hurt, Byron Buxton now with the hip thing, and we don't know exactly when he's coming back. And given his injury history, you never assume sooner rather than later. And Carlos Correa is still out. It's a lot of their best players, and down the stretch here, you got to wonder how things
well,
hold up unless they get some of
okay.
those guys back or overperform still in the rotation with these young guys.
Here's the bad thing. Buxton playing the best he has in years, as far as a hitter, he looked better than
Yes,
in this last 6 weeks. He looked better than he has since 2017 or something, whenever this
I
big
agree.
year. And was playing really good center field, and it's his hip. And as we were talking earlier, 2 years ago, that basically he was doing okay. I looked back and I saw a couple of things I'd written back then, and then he shut down for the year, right on August 1, August 2,
Something
and it
like
was
that. Yeah, right in there. Yep.
basically because of his hip. And from what I wasn't there yesterday, but Rocco did not give a glowing, he didn't come flat out and say it, but they're pretty much not knowing and having any idea if they're going to get him back. And certainly if they're going to get him back in center field, and we've discovered this year, if he doesn't play center field, he doesn't count because he was terrible as a DH. And so that's a disaster. But Correa, this was also, I mean, Correa was one of the five best players in the American League there for about 2 months, and now he's shut her down. And I don't have any idea what they're trying to do. Nobody ever rehabs a plantar fasciitis. They just have to play enough to have it snap on them, right? And
Right.
So they don't even give us any hint when he might be back anymore, right? They haven't said anything lately. And then what really hurts is then Brooks Lee gets hurt, who was, could play shortstop and was playing well and competitive at the plate. And when Brooks Lee plays shortstop, then you can put Willie Castro in center field. So Willie Castro isn't Buxton, but he's better than Manny Margot and anybody else you're going to put out there, Austin Martin. So they're really hurting now. And then Joe Ryan, of course, is a disaster losing him because he is a very competitive pitcher and, gives up a home run a game and, with 3 runs, 6 innings, 6 and a third. Very reliable, and that's a disaster. So, I can't see him hanging. I really can't with this collection that they have now. I was over there. I was at the game Tuesday, and they get 13, and they look great. And you know what I found out, though? I sat in the crowd on Tuesday, and we got all this negative.
Once you got your phone, once you went and retrieved your phone.
Yeah, once I went back and got my phone because the tickets are in there. Well, that's a whole new rant that I could go on about that I can't have tickets. As I keep saying about having them on the app. You go to a game, somebody pitches a perfect game, and then next year you can say, "Yeah, I was at that game," and you can show them your scan. So
it's true.
So or you can print out your scan or something. I don't know, but anyway. You know what I discovered, though? You sit out in the stands, the people going to ball games aren't mad about everything. They're just there having a good time. They go to the game. There's kids all over the place. It's at this time of year, August, the kids' summer league stuff is finally over, and everybody makes a trip to the ball game, and everybody's like, now they were winning 13-3, but even before that,
beautiful day too. Yeah.
Even before that, it's a gorgeous day, and everybody's having a good time. It's they're not. These are not the people that they're. Every time there's a Twin story on the Star Tribune saying the cheap pull ads and boycott the team and all that crap. So and they've been drawing fair here for most of the summer, really. So they're a little behind last year's pace because they had, you look at it, they've had a pathetic schedule. They had the Dodgers and the Yankees in April. If they'd had them here in the summer, they would have had, 110,000 people in the weekend. And instead, they got 15,000 a game or something. So they've had a terrible schedule. But and I think most people understand that it's not the cheap pull ads that's going to do them in now. They getting hurt. Buxton's hurt, Correa's hurt, and that's a lot of money right there. That's $100 million and
about 45 million a year. Million? Yeah, 45 million a year right there between the two of them, right?
And the two best players they had, basically, really. So I don't know. You know who's really playing good though? Matt Wallner.
He's been tearing it up since he came back from St. Paul.
He hits the ball so hard, it's unbelievable. He strikes out once in a while. Good eye at the plate, but he got robbed on a couple of near strikes when I was there Tuesday. But he's been killing it. But I just without Correa and Buxton and Brooks Lee and Joe Ryan, I just don't see him. And now you're going to Texas, and Texas can't. They popped up last night. Garcia hit a couple of home runs, and so now you're going down there, and it's almost the last stand for them. After disappointing year. So you're down there for 4, and then you go to San Diego. And San Diego, since they went out and made all those got really aggressive in late July. They're what, 19-2, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're chasing down the Dodgers. So it's going to be a tough 7-game road trip. That's for sure.
Well, and you just look at it, and the big storyline aside from the injured offensive players, and again, Buxton, you forget this is kind of a multi-part point, I guess. You forget that 2 years ago when he got hurt, they were right there. You
Oh
can
yeah,
they finished 78 and 84, so you kind of forget
yeah,
how good or at least how competitive they were. Like August, they were in the division lead, and even early September, they were tied. They finished 14 games out.
yeah. They went in the
Um,
tank
they just went in the
completely. Yeah.
went in the toilet at the end of the year, but his injury did play a role in derailing that season. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen exactly the same way this year. They survived pretty well without him at other points last year, but yeah, it's a different world there. And the other thing is, man, you're counting on so many of those young pitchers. And we've been waiting.
Yeah.
I made this point today. We've been waiting for all the Falvey pitching pipeline and say, okay, maybe these guys are finally here. That's a lot to ask of Festa, Woods Richardson, and Zebby Matthews, the guy who started the year in A ball to pitch for
Yes.
you down the stretch of the last 6 weeks of a pennant race. Not saying they can't do it, but man, that's a lot. Three really young pitchers, and now no margin for error. You got to have basically the best of Pablo Lopez and Bailey Ober every time out.
Yeah, Ober's been fantastic, and he's pitching tonight. And yeah, and Pablo's been okay. He's he had a little run where he was 3-4 good starts in a row. He still pops up and gives you the inning. But yeah, it's just, I mean, Matthews looked okay the other night, but they gave him so many runs it was hard to tell. And he wasn't that good in St. Paul. He gave up a
No,
lot of hits and. He looks like everybody likes him because he's a control pitcher and just throws 95, 96. So
right, just
he might
enough
have a
these days. Yeah.
chance. But you're right. It's and Festa. He had a game about the start before the last one. He was pretty good, but I didn't see the 3 1/3, so they hooked him pretty early in that one.
Yeah, they
So
they worry about him the second time through, and anytime there, he's he's got to get another pitch one of these days. He's probably not going to get it
yeah.
right now, but
Yeah, the
future
other
wise,
night when not this time, but the last time I saw him pitch, he actually was throwing changeups and a breaking ball and
okay,
getting them over the plate and was doing okay. But if he doesn't have those, the other times I saw him pitch, he only had the fastball. So, yeah, it would be asking too much to replace Joe Ryan. I think I don't see it. I mean, Joe Ryan is a quality. 2-3 starter
yeah,
on any rotation in baseball. So it's a bad deal. But then you look around, Cleveland is starting to get a little of their pitching back, but they got everybody. They were down to one of
right.
their original starters there for a while. All kinds of teams are just losing pitchers left and right, and Yankees. But Cole is not sharp again yet. So, yeah, I mean, the pitching situation all over is terrible. But it's, I don't see how you survive with this pitching. And, all right. Kyle Farmer going to have to play shortstop now? I don't know. I guess you could play him at short and Castro in center, but I can't stand to watch Manny Margot play center field. Okay, that's it. We can't do that. That's
No,
he's awful. But that's my opinion. So yeah, it's they've kind of surprised us by being this competitive, but now I don't know. You know who I want? You think Kansas City trade us Bobby Witt?
he's pretty good. He's pretty good. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to trade him.
They signed him for what, $230 million or
Yeah,
something to take away. But man, is he good? He
yeah.
is fantastic.
He hit that home
He's
run.
hitting,
Hit that home run yesterday. That pitch was like in his eyes. That was
yeah,
crazy.
and the ball when he hits it, it's a screaming line drive. But he's hitting 350. The rest of the
Yes.
wor's hitting 235. He's
Yes,
hitting
350 is the new 380 in this
Yes,
in this
that's
baseball.
right. It is. He might be the second best Royal player ever behind George.
George
He's
Brett. Yeah.
unbelievable. God, I love him. He's 24.
Yeah.
And he kicked one the other day at shortstop, but he's a great shortstop. But the amazing thing is, he's the son of a pitcher, and he runs like that. He's a I don't know where those genes came from, but he's fantastically fast. God, he's a good player.
Well,
They
his
got
dad was a hard throwing, wild
right,
control, no command
yeah.
pitcher, right?
Didn't he have a perfect game? Didn't he
I
pitch a
think he
perfect
did.
game?
I think he
Bobby
did.
Witt, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I remember interviewing him a couple of times. He was a surly SOB too, as I recall. But the kid is, just man, he's a great player. Kansas City's got Mahomes and him. That's pretty good. I wonder
Yeah, that's
what what's amazing down in Kansas City is the voters say we're not building either of them a stadium, and they might be moving across the river to Kansas. Kansas
yeah,
is offering to build
right.
them both a stadium. So how can you have the three-time Super Bowl champions with the one of the five best quarterbacks in the history of man, and you're not gonna, we don't want to give them any money. So anyway, it's
Bobby Witt. Oh, go ahead. I was just
yeah,
pulling up
no,
Bobby Witt Senior's numbers. It's quite a journey for him.
he
He
up and down, a lot of good years, bad
started,
years.
yeah, he got better. He's kind of smoothed out as he kind of figured out his career. But his rookie year was 1986 with the Rangers. 11-9, 5.48 ERA, 157 and two-thirds innings pitched, 143 walks,
Wow.
almost a walk per inning. I remember
That
that.
that'll do you in, but yeah, he
174
was.
strikeouts, 22 wild
Yeah,
pitches, led the league in
yeah.
wild pitches as
Now,
well.
what year? When was this? The 80s?
86, yeah, 86.
86. So 86 into the 90s. That's when we had everybody was hit, man. That was that was pre-steroid though. He
Yeah,
probably lasted. No, that wasn't the steroids
no.
era. By the way, there was somebody put on the video the starting lineup for the 1984 Olympic baseball team,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
which I don't believe was an Olympic sport. Look at that video though. Mark McGuire, first
Yep,
baseman, the skinny little guy
yep,
playing,
yep.
skinny tall guy playing first base. Years later, I'm sitting there in the press box watching him and Sosa saying, "Boy, these guys must really be working out." you know,
Right.
yeah,
We were so
Sammy
naive.
Sosa.
We didn't want to believe it. The
Sammy
balls are
Sosa used
juiced.
to
It's the balls. The balls are
Yeah,
juiced.
right. We got the balls juiced. Sammy Sosa used to weigh 180. Now he weighs
Yes.
220, and he's a rock.
Yes.
Boy, he
Yes.
must be really working out. What
Yeah.
an idiot. What idiots we were. It's
We were. We didn't want to
unbelievable.
believe it. We didn't want to
No,
believe
we
it.
did.
Bobby Witt Sr. made a whole career out of it into all the way to 2001, though. You got to admire someone
Really?
who, from
Wow.
1986 to 2001, he wound up with 142 career wins. He did get some more control. He more or less wound up with about 5 walks per 9 innings over the course of his
Mhm.
career, not 8 or 9. But
Yeah, he had a live arm. I remember that.
but yeah,
But
the kid, his kid is
it is
he's out of this world.
fantastic.
Best Royce Lewis is phenomenal, but I would dare say that Bobby Witt is the best player in the division because he might be the best player in baseball. I mean, Aaron
Yeah,
Judge and
I
him,
mean,
right?
yeah, he's going to finish second in the MVP because Judge might end up with 75 home runs and 200 RBIs. It's unbelievable
Yes.
how hard he hit the ball. How about the upset of the century, though? The Mighty Whiteys beating the Yankees bloody the other night. So it was
Yes.
12 to
That
2
was
or
Grady
something like
Sizemore's
that.
first win, right?
Yeah, yes. And then, of course, they got beat again. But,
Yeah.
it was their second win out of 27 games, I believe, when they beat them
It's
12 to 2. A guy could have made some money on that one. I got a hunch. So, anyway.
Twins don't get to play it. Don't get to play the White Sox anymore this year, which is
No,
kind of
done with
a little
12
secret
and
of
1,
their
right?
little secret of their schedule. Yeah, they're not much over 500 without the White Sox, but
Well,
we'll
you
see.
know
That's
what?
what. Oh, go
You know
ahead.
what the shock is? They're 5-5 against Kansas City. Kansas
Yeah,
City is got to look at that and say, "What we do here?"
they finally beat Cleveland. The Twins finally beat Cleveland too, so at least they got that going for them.
Cleveland all of a sudden just popped up, won 6 in a row again. So
Yeah,
they lost 7 in a row, and now they won 6 in a row. Class A's got what 37 saves
he's
or
tremendous.
38 saves.
He's unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah, and they had him save 4 straight games. That kind of throwback old time, send him out there every day. So
kind of feel like. Oh, go ahead.
No, that was. I mean, that's. You're not going to see The Rock do that, man. He's not going to pitch anybody 4 straight
No,
days in a
maybe
row.
maybe 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, but
No,
not all
yeah.
four. That is for sure.
Yes.
The AL Central not passing the Twins by. I think they're still in good shape there, especially if they got healthy. But obviously, the division a lot more competitive this year than it's been. And then you shift to the NFC North, where this kind of happened already last year. You talk about JJ McCarthy, which we've talked about a lot already here with Ben Gessling and I did a quick bonus episode yesterday once we figured out that McCarthy was out for the year, which wasn't unexpected once we knew it was a meniscus, but we did that special episode yesterday. But McCarthy out for the season. Addison gets taken off the field in Cleveland on Wednesday. They say it's a not serious, just an ankle, but you never know how long that's going to be or really how serious it is because it was just a little bit of knee soreness, Patrick, a couple days ago with McCarthy. Now he's out for the year. Not saying that's going to be the case with Addison, but this has not been the off season and the lead up to the season that the Vikings needed. This feels like it's got the potential to not be a great year, and who's going to be excited to watch Sam Darnold play 17 games? He might be a functional quarterback, but the joy of the season has been taken away already.
Yeah, and he was going to play for a while anyway to start the season. But this whole, I don't know, I've been bringing up 2010 as the vibe that's going on here now. 2009, they go to the
Everything
NFC
goes right.
title game. Everybody's optimistic. Then Brett's got to get talked into coming back, and Sidney Rice won't practice and says, "I want surgery." And there's 5, 6, 7 other things happened down there. Was Percy around then? Was it Percy?
Yes, Percy was a rookie in 2009.
But Percy wouldn't practice on Wednesdays, and he was a goofball. But I mean, the whole vibe of that season was established in 2 weeks in Mankato.
Yes.
Everything was going wrong, and now here you have death. You got Addison being a moron. You got now being an injured moron, and you got just bad vibe. You lose your most promising cornerback in the first practice of the summer training camp, and it's just that everything. Then Darrisaw yesterday can't block Myles Garrett to save his life.
Yeah,
Just gave him $200 million or something, and just a lot of stuff going bad here, and then the division should certainly be better. Although, let me make a prediction.
Okay.
That moron in Detroit, that team's going to blow up with that moron coaching them.
Campbell.
And they're not going to. Yeah, did you see they had 3 fights in their first, we're going to be tough guys in practice. Why do these teams do this? Why do they have these practices with other teams?
They like the work. They like the work, Patrick. We're getting in some good work. We're stacking.
Yeah, we're getting all this work in. We're getting
stacking.
Fights, we're getting hurt.
We're stacking good days. That's the phrase that I hate that phrase. I just want to stack one good day. I hate that phrase.
It's idiotic. Everything you read is this guy got hurt in this practice. You can't control the environment. O'Connell's got to go over there and weep to the other coaches, say, "Don't hit us so hard. You're being too physical." And then Cleveland's Stefanski and those guys, they're running around. They must have some goofball coaches who are screaming to, beat them up. So I think it's the dumbest thing ever that they have these. I've felt that way, though, for the 20-some years that they've been doing this. I don't know what it's, to me, it's stupid. And then none of these guys that are playing in this game that nobody watches are going to play in the game. When you play the actual game and people buy tickets, you don't get to see the players. What is that? Why don't they just do it in the exhibition game?
I don't know.
Why isn't Darrisaw blocking Garrett in the exhibition game?
Because
why does it have to be on the practice field?
A controlled environment, Patrick. They love the control.
They're thieves. They're stealing your money, people. They're thieves. They're crooks.
Ben made a good point about this the other day when he said the reason they really like it is you can't bring the cameras in, and so you can work on the stuff that you don't want to put on film for everybody else. That's why they do it. The secrets, the big secrets. I
Yeah.
tell you what, though, this joint practice with the Browns did not come at a good time. This is not the
No.
confidence boost the offense needed right
No.
now after
Right
they
off.
lost these guys.
Yeah. Now McCarthy, I think because he looked pretty good in practice so far, and then I guess he looked. I didn't watch the exhibition
He
game, but
did.
they
He looked
said
good. He looked good in
he
that game.
looked
Yeah.
good, and he threw an interception right off the bat, and then he was good and hitting.
Yeah.
But I heard Lewis Reddick last night, and it was like. I don't. It was like Dan Fouts had been injured and would never play. He was going on and on about everything that has just been perfect about this guy and the Vikings plan and blah blah blah. Well, I, I'm sure he's promising. I'm sure it's a downer, but let's put the brakes on here as far as what we knew we were getting.
Yeah.
Obviously. I think what it does, though, the fact, okay, he's hurt, and
Right.
that's bad. But I think what this emphasizes more than anything is as good as he was apparently looking to everybody because he's an athlete and everything, it just makes it more grievous that idiot in Atlanta drafted Michael Penix with the
Yes.
eighth pick instead of not only did he draft a quarterback after giving Kirk 50 million, but he drafted the wrong one,
The
probably.
oldest one. Yeah.
Yeah, the oldest one, the guy who's going to be 27 before he can play. That was still remains the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. So, what was Kirk complaining about the other day?
I
I
didn't see
saw
that.
some headline
No, I
about.
didn't
I
see it.
saw some headline about the Vikings wouldn't have treated me like this, and I think
Oh,
it's that the Vikings promised him that they weren't going to draft a quarterback if he came back. But
oh,
the Vikings never wanted to bring him back.
no.
Okay, I don't buy it. They did not want to bring him back, and congratulations to them. Paying him $45 million a year would have been idiotic. They can now do some things, and McCarthy getting hurt obviously hurts a lot as far as you're going to go into next season not knowing what you got, but not having Kirk is a good thing. It's not a
Yeah.
bad thing.
You needed to move on, and Darnold will be
Yes.
fine this year. He actually looked pretty good in the preseason game, too. He's been like the forgotten man. Like, he was going to start all along. And then everybody's got McCarthy fever because he's the rookie, and then he has the good showing in the preseason game. So this definitely puts the onus back on Sam Darnold. It puts the onus, too, on the head coach and the general manager to show that
I
you got
don't.
some to show that you got some roster depth at least. Not you don't have to have a great year this year, but you have had 3 drafts now. Some of these guys got to play and be good for you this year to show that you have made some progress.
Let me say I don't buy. And Jim wrote this the other day, and it's been.
Yeah.
I heard it. I heard it on the radio too. I don't buy the idea that these guys are in any trouble.
No, I don't
buy
either.
it.
I don't either.
I think
No,
O'Connell. I think they want O'Connell to be the face of the franchise
I
because
agree with that too.
he's a popular guy, and they're not going to run off a Doffo after 1 year, after 3 years and
No.
one terrible draft. But I loved the draft last year because we didn't trade a third pick for seventh
Right.
rounders
Right.
like that.
They went for premium
Spielman
talent.
did. I
Yes.
like, you can go to the same guys that Spielman drafted in the 6th and 7th round were undrafted free agents that you could go
Yes.
sign. It was an idiotic thing that he always did. It was just trying to save money because you can get those guys cheaper as draft choices than as undrafted free agents where you have to bid with somebody. But this guy they got from Alabama is a monster.
Yes.
He's one of the best players in the draft.
Dallas Turner. Yeah.
Dallas Turner. I love that guy, and I guess he looked.
He looked good.
He looked good. And anyway, so I think they're. I thought they were on the right track, but it's just a bad things have happened, and it's football. And you know how you prevent injuries in football? You don't.
You don't play. Yeah, you don't play.
No, yeah, that's the only thing you can do is not because it's. I mean, this is a vicious, unbelievable game, and I was trying to figure out how come we have so many injuries. In football, it's obvious, but in
Yeah.
other sports, I'm deciding that these guys and women to some extent, their their athletic ability exceeds their bodies. It exceeds the human body.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff now that's unbelievable, like swimming. When are we going to have every time they get in the pool, they set a new world record? What's is somebody going to end up swimming 100 meters in zero here? I mean, what are we going to
It's
do?
just a blur.
How do we
Yeah.
keep setting a world record every time somebody jumps in the pool? I don't get it. You can, the modern athlete is so good. I think he's better than the human. Him and her, they're better than the human body. I think. I don't know. That's my new theory.
Well, they're
And
definitely asking pitchers to do more than they should, right? Like
yeah. Oh God, yes.
we know how to give them more velocity, more spin, but that's not good for the arm.
Well, and also variety of pitches. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh yeah, they used to hit." The what happened to the hitters? Well, you got guys throwing 99 or 100 with a variety of about five different pitches, three of
Yeah.
which we never heard of before.
Right.
That's the hardest.
Sweeper.
It's always been the hardest
We were
task.
inventing pitches.
It's always been the hardest task in sports, hitting a baseball. Now it's harder than it's ever been. It's unbelievable. So, and,
Yeah.
in football, offensive linemen, I always talk about them. These guys, when Bud was going to Super Bowls, he had five guys line up about a foot apart from each other. And, they weighed 280, 290. Now you're asking 310-pound men, 315-pound guys to cover a wide area of these big splits. You're asking them to do stuff that a 300-pound person can't do to reach I mean, Derisow's trying to block Miles Garrett, who's this
Who
fleek
moves like
athlete.
who moves like 190 pounder. He's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You got guys like that. It's impossible to the human body can't be as good as the athletes are. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
And it's so specialized. I was complaining to Bobby Nightingale about this the other day when he was on the show because he said something. I think it was about Festa, where he was like, he's only got 3 pitches. They need him to develop some more pitches. And I waited for him to be done. And I was like, Bobby, back in the day, like 3 pitches was pretty good for a starter. That was enough. That was enough.
Yeah.
And now you got to have 5 or 6 at least that you can throw at least occasionally to keep the hitters off balance. That's what they do now.
I don't even know if Bert ever threw a slider. I don't know. Bert threw a fastball, a curveball, and once in a very once on a rare occasion he threw a changeup. But he was, curveball, fastball was, he was probably throwing 95 or 6 back then, and then with the best curveball of all time, and that was enough. You didn't have to worry about. We got to get him a sweeper, which don't get me started on the sweeper. That's a big slider. Okay, that's what
it's a slider. Is. Yeah, we just gave it a new name. We gave it a new name.
Yes, we did. So.
Your original point is a good one. I think football players especially have outpaced, we're asking them to do more than sometimes their bodies are capable of. And that's where injuries happen. You train, you get big, and then you're asked to do impossible things on a small field and things happen. But I was kind of more in the pessimistic camp on the Vikings even before all this happened. But I don't see how they win more than 6 or 7 games this year. I just don't.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. The division should not be you're going to probably go 2-4 at best in the division. And there's been years where you go in there and you got both the Bears and the Lions, and you say, if we don't get 4-1, go 4-0, it's an embarrassment. Of course, they always manage to lose a game to the Bears, and somehow at Soldier Field.
The Bears are going to be good this year. The Bears could win the division. the Bears could win the division this year.
Well, if the quarterback's good, I still don't trust the quarterback because I saw him crying in his mother's arms after he lost a game. So I don't, that's all I need to know. He's, real quarterbacks don't cry, okay? But anyway, but yeah, they have young athletes all over the place.
Yeah,
but again,
their pass pictures are ridiculous.
Who stays healthy?
That's what it is. Well,
that's what that's what it is.
The answer so far is not Vikings.
For a long time, I've said, if you play your season and, you're an average NFL team and you only lose 2 starters for the season, you only lose 2 of your starters, you're going to have a good year. If you lose 6, you're going to have a bad year.
Yeah,
and that's just, who stays healthy, who doesn't. And now that 2 number's like 4. If you only lose 4 starters,
2 on each side of the ball, you should be okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's just injuries in sports are just killing teams, just killing the Twins right now, and killing the Vikings, and all over. I mean, baseball, there's 4 or 5 teams that have been just decimated by injuries. Baltimore's gone through about 11 starters or something, So they're just, it's just people can't stay healthy, and they, you know what? The MRI machine is
right. Are you injured or are you hurt?
Back then, Jim Cott, popped his elbow. Should have had at the end of the Great Race in '67. He popped his elbow, and in modern baseball, he would have had Tommy John surgery, and instead he rehabbed it and didn't throw as well for about the first half of the next year. But he just pitched, and he still pitched till 1982. He never had Tommy John surgery, so it was. But also,
if you'd had it a little sooner, it might have been called Jim Cott surgery.
Yeah. Yes. But the other thing is, they were playing injured, which made them not as good of players, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're playing injury, Tony Oliva played his last 4 years and he couldn't walk,
right?
And he only played 10 games in '72, but then because the DH came in, he played 3 more years.
Yeah.
But you had injured players playing back then, and we look at that as, weren't they brave? Weren't they great? Yes, but there's no way they were as good playing hurt. You're not allowed to play hurt anymore because they got the machines, and they look at you and say, okay, this is a problem, and we're not going to send you out there with an injury. So anyway.
And that's the conundrum. Well, I want to talk Lynx for just a second before we get out of here, but that's the conundrum with Correa, right? Like we saw him last year play through the thing, the foot injury, the plantar fasciitis, and he could still function, but he was basically like a replacement level player. He a replacement level hitter. He could still field pretty well. So the question is at what point do you want that back in the lineup? Because he's not nearly the same player if he's playing through that. So you want him back on the field. You're like, where's Correa? But it's also he's not that good if he's hurt.
And boy, the information they've been giving out on him is nil too, right?
It's been over a month. It was supposed to be it wasn't as bad as last year, but it's been over a month now, August to July 12th, I think.
But there's no hint that he's coming back, but
stages.
Everything we've heard is that thing can't be rehabbed. It's got to, it's got to, whatever it does, pop or whatever it is. And then, then you're okay. But I don't know. Is it him that said, I don't want to play with it this year? Or is it them? I don't know which it is.
I don't know.
But anyway, that's the loss, man, right there. He was playing great.
Yeah. Well,
God, he's such a good shortstop.
He and Buxton. You can't have both of those guys out. We'll see if one or both of them is back anytime soon.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
Speaking of back, Lynx had a month-long Olympic break. We
Yeah,
haven't
it's
seen them. I think
29 days.
haven't seen them
29
since
days.
July 17th.
Yeah, wow. And they get to play the Mystics. That's a nice
Yes.
way to come back. 2
It is.
games. And, it's going to be interesting. Does the whole league start tonight, or they had some games? I didn't.
Yeah,
But
I can't remember if it's all tonight or if they had a couple yesterday.
it's going to be interesting, though, to see these. I don't, a month in the middle of the season. The only team that takes more time off than the Lynx are the Loons,
The
but
Loons.
that's another story. What are they
don't play
waiting for?
They don't play for
24th.
They're doing this. They're doing this league.
Yeah, but the whole league is playing again, and they don't play till
because they lost.
24th.
They lost in their
What
group.
This is stupidest league in history. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
Bring back the NASL where we had our teams.
Yeah.
That was stupid. Bring back Alan
breaks.
Merrick and Alan Willie and Ron Fisher and those guys. Instead of these, they don't play. They never play. It's the stupidest thing. Anyway, yeah, the Lynx, it's interesting to see. And they got, 14 games left, the finish line. And it'll be interesting. They're, I didn't realize you mentioned it. I didn't realize we get the fever back, so the Islands will get back up here and fill the arena again.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll go to that game because I'm mad at Caitlin for accusing me of stepping on her cell phone,
right.
Which I did. But just
wait a minute. Why are you mad at her for accusing you if it happened? You can't be mad at her if you did it.
It was a toe tap. It wasn't. If I stepped on it,
close.
Caitlin,
It was a close call.
If I stepped on it, Caitlin, all your precious memories would be gone. I'm not a little fella, Caitlin. If I stepped on it, it'd be broken and shattered, and your photos from the ESPYs and everything else, they'd be gone. It's
just a good story now instead of a tragedy.
Yes,
so that's good.
Yes, it is a phone tragedy. But anyway, yeah, they're in good shape. We'll see. They haven't. They've won since Maya retired. They've won 2 playoff games. They've never had a run, so they need to have a run here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And this team, it's funny the way they play. I mean, they don't rebound, but then they don't care, I guess, because they're playing 5 out. I guess that's kind of the new offense in the WNBA. I'm told Las Vegas plays that way, and other teams play that way too. How about the Las Vegas coach? Did you see the latest Becky Hammond scandal?
No.
Yeah. Oh, she bad-mouthing one of her pregnant players, and now they got the audio. Now they got the audio on it, and they ended up trading her. But she was a hardcore. She get a lot of heat. She could get run off. But anyway, yeah, it's they got 14 games left, and let's face it. There probably is more interest in women's basketball right now than there's ever been. So Caitlin has obviously assisted that, but then Angel Reese and other. I mean, we know who these players are, and now they're coming off the Olympics. And by the way, Coach Reeve was this close to the suffering, the humiliation of not winning the gold medal. They were headed for overtime until that Gabby Williams toe
was on the line. Toe was on the line, about 4 inches away from overtime.
Yeah.
That was a great game. Yeah. Well, they had a bunch of players Lynx had a bunch of players in the Olympics because they had, not just Collier, but they had Carlton and a couple others on different teams.
Not exactly like the men's tournament, though, that I think, what was the number? There were 62 or 64 guys playing that weren't playing for Team USA, NBA players.
It's amazing. Tournament. Yeah,
when you look back at the Dream Team in '92. How many players were in that tournament that weren't playing for the US?
They were in the NBA,
maybe.
Barely any. Yeah,
5,
it was just the league's totally changed since then.
It's unbelievable. I tell you, every team in the league's going to have somebody from the old Yugoslavia who's 7'2", and because every 6-year-old kid in Serbia who's got a 6'10" father is now dribbling a basketball.
That's true.
And they got a guy at IMG Do you see this? The 7'9".
What? 7'9"?
7'9".
That's not fair. That's not fair.
I'm an 18, 19-year-old kid who's 7'9". We gotta put a height limit on it.
Raise the basket.
Wembyana, measure Wembyana. Anybody over this can't play. He's 7'5".
It's like an amusement park ride. Yeah.
I watched him in an Olympic game. He's 8 feet from the basket. Somebody's guarding him and he dunks.
Yeah.
He just reaches over his head and dunks.
He's unguardable.
He's
only going to get better.
But you can't have. I mean, it's
7'9".
Yeah, no, 7'9". That don't work.
Too much. Too much. Yeah.
It's time to start discriminating against height. So,
raise the hoop. Raise it to 10.5 feet. Let's go. Make it more of a challenge to dunk. Let's go.
Maybe. I don't know what you're gonna have to do.
I don't think that's the answer.
No,
that's the answer.
But anyway, Lynx back. They get to play the Mystics twice right out the bat. So they're going to be 19-9. But it doesn't make any difference what the Western Conference standings say, right?
Because it's all
the whole playoff thing is one plays 8 and 2 plays 7,
correct.
And so they have the conference standings, but they don't mean anything, right?
Yeah, and right now they're tied for third in the league. So but I think the top 4 get the buys, so it is kind of still important where they finish up. And there's kind of 5 teams for 4 buys. You're right. The Mystics are 6 of 19, so you should come out of the break and take care of them. They are second worst team in the league, actually tied for worst record in the league. So yeah, that's a nice easy on ramp back. Yeah, they're 17-8 right now, so they could be 19-8 after.
And unlike
these 2.
Every other Minnesota team, they're healthy too, right?
Yes,
we got our whole team. So
when you were making that point about health earlier, I was going to say, who was pretty healthy this year was the Timberwolves. That was part of their success. I know Cat missed some at the end of the regular season with the knee, but he came back for the playoffs. They pretty much had anybody they wanted to have on the court. They had access to him, and that isn't always the case.
When is Tim the Sneak going to make the Cat trade?
You still think it's coming this offseason? I don't think it's coming this offseason.
I don't think we think anything, but don't trust this guy. He's up to something. I'll tell you that.
You say that just because he says one thing doesn't mean the other thing won't happen, and I agree with that. It just feels late in the offseason for that at this point.
He's got to be the most frustrating guy in the league for the Woj and the Shams and all those guys because they don't get a hint, and then all of a sudden,
Rudy Gobert.
He drops the atom bomb.
Right.
So I don't. Anything he does will not surprise me because he's he must have the tightest circle in the league because there's no bigger gossips than assistant coaches in the NBA. They know everything about everything, and yet nobody ever had a hint about Gobert. No. Nobody had a hint he was going to make these trades in the to get 2 draft choices because figuring he wouldn't be able to draft for 4 years anyway, better do what he could now, and so I don't know. We'll find out because Meanwhile, we don't know when's the arbitration for the ownership. Do we know?
I think it's in a few months, maybe November, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Not until then. Wow, this is
I can't remember. Yeah, it's gonna. We still don't know who's gonna own the team. It's amazing.
The myth is out there, though. The myth is out there. Somebody was telling me this the other day that talking to me about a different matter, but that Tim Connolly won't stay if Glenn Taylor gets the team.
Really?
Tim Connolly, BS. He'll get his. He's gonna make $12 million a year or something to be the general manager.
Right.
He won't.
Right.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not going anywhere. No.
All right.
We are, though. Patrick, appreciate it. Back on Monday, I think next week, regularly scheduled, but I'm sure we'll have plenty to get to. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. See you.